You always thought that being a stagecoach driver in the Wild West meant dusty roads, a little bit of danger, and the occasional run in with bandits. You were wrong. In reality, your life is an endless chain of pain, filth, exhaustion, and humiliation. There is no room for romance here, only broken bones, rotten ghost towns, constant fear, lice, thirst, and the expectation of a bullet from behind the next hill. Every morning you wake up not knowing if you will survive the day or simply disappear into nameless dust, like thousands before you. Welcome to the most hopeless and meaningless job in the entire Wild West. But before we begin, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments which city you are watching from and what time it is where you are. I am really curious to see who has joined us. Now get comfortable. We are starting. You wake up before the sun. Not because you want to, not because you must, but because the lice on your neck and the ache in your joints make sleep less appealing than sitting upright in a cold plank chair while chewing stale tobacco. The station you slept at, if one can call it that, is just another lean-to nailed together with hopes and mildew. The sign says Dry Creek, though there has never been water here, only sand, regret, and a pile of manure that somehow still steams in the morning chill. You are a stagecoach driver. That means you are responsible for 6 half-starved horses, one wheel that always wobbles, and 3 passengers who look at you with the dull hatred reserved for people who hold their lives in their calloused hands. The pay is laughable. The danger is not. You crawl from under a moldy wool blanket that smells like old beer and dried blood. You slept in the mail compartment again. The mattress is stuffed with sawdust, and it leaks. You have not felt your left foot since Tuesday. It is Friday. Probably. The cook at the station, a man whose face resembles boiled jerky, slaps down a tin plate of something gray and steaming. It is supposed to be beans. It tastes like wet rope. You eat it anyway because chewing it means you are not answering questions. The passengers always have questions. Where are we going? Will it be safe? How long will it take? Do you think the man at the last stop stole my coin purse? You never answer. Not because you are rude, though you are, but because every time someone speaks on this route, something dies. A horse, a wheel, hope. You go out to the stable to check the horses. You name them ironically. Majesty has a limp. Glory is blind in one eye. Speed is 30 years old if she is a day, and walks sideways from a poorly healed break in her front leg. None of them want to move. You understand. The tack is rotting leather. The reins are too short. The stagecoach itself is painted a cheerful red that flakes off like scabs. You haul the luggage onto the roof. There are too many boxes. One is labeled fragile and packed by someone who clearly thinks stagecoach travel involves clouds and angels. You wedge it beneath a crate of horseshoes and a barrel of pickled eggs. The shotgun rider joins you last. His name is Ebb, or maybe Jeb. He does not speak. He carries a 10 gauge and smells like whiskey sweat. This is his third trip with you. He has not yet fired his gun, but every night he polishes it. That says enough. The first leg of the journey begins at sunrise. The wheels creak like the backs of old men. The horses snort and stamp, irritated at being alive. You snap the reins and call them liars. They move anyway. Ahead lies 70 miles of dust, heat, and the kind of silence that makes your ears ring. You pass through barren scrubland. The wind carries sand into your teeth. You do not spit. Moisture is currency out here. Every drop of water is a prayer, and you are not on speaking terms with God. The passengers in the back, a tobacco merchant, a widow, and someone who claims to be a doctor, begin their usual litany of coughs, complaints, and urgent whispering. You hear the word cholera more than once. You assume they are talking about the widow. She has not blinked since you left. The road, such as it is, snakes around gullies, boulders, and the occasional dead cow. Buzzards dot the sky. Sometimes they follow. You like the buzzards. They are honest. By noon, the sun is less of a light source and more of a punishment. Your shirt clings to your back like wet parchment. You have not drunk water in 6 hours. The water barrel tied to the back of the coach smells like it died in transit. You drink anyway. There is something floating in it. You pretend it is a leaf. The stagecoach lurches as a front wheel dips into a rut the size of a child's grave. The whole cabin moans. The widow finally blinks. The merchant swears in German. The doctor throws up something yellow into his satchel. You do not slow down. There is a way station about 20 miles ahead. It is known for bad bacon and worse company. You will stop there only if a horse collapses. You hope one does. The road gets rougher. The horses tire. You hear the creak of a wooden yoke that will not last another mile. You tighten the leather straps, slap a fly off your neck, and chew on a lump of tobacco until your tongue goes numb. In the distance, a dust cloud rises. Another coach or riders, you squint. It is too small for a coach, too scattered for riders. Probably wind. Probably you keep your hand on the shotgun slung under your bench. As evening falls, the world turns to gold, then to rust. The sky bleeds across the horizon. The horses stumble forward, their breathing ragged, their mouths frothing. You speak to them gently now, calling them by names you never say aloud in town. Easy now, sweetheart. Almost there, gravedigger. Just a little more dying to do. At the end of the day, you reach the way station. It is not burned down this time. A good sign. The hostler greets you with a grunt and a hand outstretched for payment. You hand him a silver coin, and he complains it is not enough. You remind him that last time he tried to short you on oats. He shuts up. You sleep in the barn, curled next to your shotgun. There is a rat in the hay. You consider shooting it, but remember bullets cost more than bread. You roll over and let it scurry across your boot. You dream of nothing. Nothing is better than this. You awake to the sound of coughing, somewhere between human and horse. At first, you cannot tell the difference. Your head throbs from the night before, when a stranger in the way station's corner tried to convince you to gamble away your last pair of boots. You declined, not out of virtue, but because your boots are your only friends, and you trust them more than any man in this town. The barn smells of rot and horse piss, but that is better than the inside of the stagecoach, where 3 days' worth of passenger sweat has collected between the cushions. You rise, every bone in your spine reminding you that you are no longer young. Perhaps you never were. A cold draft slices through the hay. You pull your threadbare coat tighter, but the chill has already wormed its way under your skin. It will not leave you for the rest of the day. Breakfast is a lie told by the cook in the way station kitchen, who serves you a bowl of congealed mush with a side of something that once resembled bacon. You do not ask questions. You eat in silence, surrounded by the other men and women condemned to ride west today. The widow is already awake, staring at nothing in particular. The merchant sips a weak coffee, eyeing his coin purse as though he expects it to vanish on its own. The so-called doctor is nowhere to be seen. You suspect he is in the outhouse, waging a private war. The horses look worse than yesterday, which you would have thought impossible. Majesty limps to the post, and you whisper apologies for all the miles yet to come. You check the harnesses, running rough hands over cracked leather, pulling every strap twice. Everything feels about to snap, including your patience. You pack the stagecoach with the passengers' luggage, heavy with secrets and the smell of distant mildew. You find a crate of books, the edges gnawed by mice. Someone must believe in education out here. You do not. The merchant demands to know if the road will be safe today. You look at him, expressionless. You say, "Safer than walking." He does not laugh. No one laughs. You climb onto your bench, Ebb or Jeb beside you, his hat pulled low. His silence is not a comfort, but a warning, like a snake in tall grass. You cluck to the horses, and the day begins, rolling out of the way station and into the maw of the land. The road is less a road and more a suggestion. Ruts run deep, full of stones and debris, evidence of other stagecoaches that passed here and did not fare well. You feel every rock as the coach's iron-bound wheels shudder and shriek, metal on stone, wood on bone. Your spine compresses with each jolt. Your hands are locked around the reins, knuckles white and raw. By midday, you cannot feel your fingers. By evening, you wonder if you ever will again. The sky is empty, but for buzzards and a single cloud that never moves, hanging just out of reach. Dust coats everything, inside and out. It clings to your tongue, your lashes, your thoughts. The horses cough. You cough, and even the merchant begins to cough, each of you contributing to a symphony of sickness that will outlast the journey. The widow has not spoken in 12 hours. You wonder if she is alive. You are not brave enough to ask. At noon, You stop to water the horses at a stream that is less stream and more puddle. The water is brown, but it moves, and that is good enough. You kneel and fill your own canteen, watching the mud settle in the bottom. You drink anyway, remembering last year's drought when men drank their own sweat and chewed leather just to remember the taste of hope. The horses drink greedily. You know you should ration the water, but watching them, you cannot bring yourself to do it. A wheel begins to wobble. You have been expecting this. It started with a creak at dawn, now a full bodied shudder that you feel in your teeth. When you stop to check, you see the hub is cracked, splintered from a hidden stone. You sigh, more habit than feeling, and set to work. You have done this more times than you can count, though you stopped counting after your first winter out here. The merchant offers advice. The widow stands at a polite distance, eyes fixed on the horizon. Ebb or Jeb keeps his hand on his shotgun, scanning the hills. You remove the broken wheel with a crowbar, and curses, splinters biting into your palm. The spare is little better, a rough shape hammered together by some distant blacksmith with more ambition than skill. You fit it anyway, tighten the bolts, and tell the passengers to climb aboard. Onward you go, creaking and complaining, both you and the coach. Sometimes the road disappears entirely, replaced by riverbeds or marsh. The coach sinks, and you wade knee deep in mud, heaving and cursing, your boots filling with stagnant water. The merchant tries to help, but only succeeds in falling on his face. The widow does not move. The doctor, who has returned, complains of rheumatism of the soul, which you believe is another way of saying cowardice. By afternoon, your hands bleed from rope and reins. Flies find the wounds and feast. The sun moves without mercy, carving your face into something leathery and old. Sweat stings your eyes, runs down your spine. Your shirt clings to your ribs. Your knees crack every time you shift on the hard bench. The world is noise, the slap of hooves, the rattle of wood, the steady, endless groan of misery. Once you dreamed of adventure. Once you thought the West was a place for fresh starts and fortune. Now you know it is a place for endings. A thunderstorm rolls in, sudden as a gunshot. The road turns to slurry, sucking at the wheels. Lightning cracks. You urge the horses forward, promising them rest that will never come. Ebb or Jeb fires a warning shot at a pack of wolves that appear near the edge of the clearing, their eyes like lanterns in the dusk. The horses panic, nearly tipping the coach. You fight them, cursing, spitting, begging. They calm or tire, you cannot tell which. By dusk, you reach another stop, a shack barely holding itself together. A sign reads, "Welcome," but no one inside looks pleased to see you. You pay for oats and a roof, though the roof leaks and the oats are half weevil. You eat anyway, swallowing bugs and bitterness. The merchant argues with the hostler over the cost of a bath. The widow finally speaks. She asks if she is in hell. No one answers. That night, you tend to the horses, rubbing down Majesty's withered leg and picking burrs from the other's manes. You whisper apologies for every mile, every stone, every cold night spent under unfeeling stars. The horses do not answer, they never do. You sleep on the floor of the barn, sharing space with mice and spiders. You dream of wheels and bones, spinning forever into darkness, never stopping, never arriving. In the morning, you will do it all again. The third day on the trail always feels the same, no matter which side of nowhere you are headed. By now, you have memorized the rhythm of the coach, the rattle, the sway, the constant creak that says another board is ready to snap. By now, you have given up the idea of comfort. The seat is a plank, polished by 1,000 other miserable backsides before yours. The springs are long dead as your faith in luck, justice, or anything you cannot touch with calloused hands. You wake in the darkness, not because the day is calling, but because your body no longer trusts sleep. Dreams out here turn ugly. They grow teeth. You sit up and spit out the taste of moldy straw, running your tongue over gums that ache from chewing too much tobacco and too little food. Your shirt, never really dry, clings to your skin, stiff with old sweat. Every joint pops and clicks as you stand. You could almost believe you are falling apart by inches. Outside, the air is sharp with the scent of horses and the distant promise of rain that never arrives. You check the stagecoach, fingers tracing every bolt and board. The spare wheel, the one you fitted yesterday, is already warped, the iron rim pulling away from the wood. It will have to do. You adjust the harness, tightening leather with frozen hands, talking to the horses in a low voice. They answer only with snorts and the occasional sideways glare, which is more than you get from most people. The passengers emerge one by one, huddled and shivering, eyes hollowed by another night of bad dreams and worse food. The merchant is paler, if that is possible. The doctor holds his side, complaining of a stitch that he claims is acute appendicitis, though you suspect it is merely hunger and terror. The widow's dress is now stained with mud and sorrow, and she avoids everyone's gaze. Ebb or Jeb, your silent shotgun rider, climbs up beside you. You note the way he checks his weapon before sitting. 3 shells, all loaded, all polished the night before. You wonder if he is more afraid of the road ahead or the passengers behind. You keep your thoughts to yourself. You set off at dawn, the sky streaked with red. There is a saying among drivers: red sky in the morning, travelers take warning. You learned long ago that warnings are pointless. No one listens. The trail is rougher today, winding through low hills and dry riverbeds, the kind of country where rocks seem to grow overnight. The stagecoach lurches, wheels skidding on loose gravel. Every jolt sends a shock up your spine. You hold tight to the reins, jaw clenched, eyes fixed on the road ahead. It happens fast. It always does. 1 minute, You are alone on the trail, listening to the steady, rhythmic clop of hooves. The next, you hear the crack of a rifle impossibly close. The lid horse rears, screaming, blood spraying from its flank. The coach rocks wildly, nearly tipping as you yank the reins, trying to bring it under control. Shouts from the brush. Faces you cannot see. The merchant shrieks. The doctor dives for the floor. The widow does not move. You see the glint of sunlight on metal, the shape of a revolver aimed in your direction. Ebb or Jeb fires his shotgun, the report deafening in the still morning air. You hear the whine of a bullet pass your ear, close enough to feel its breath. Your heart punches against your ribs, frantic and unhelpful. The stagecoach halts, wedged awkwardly in a shallow ditch. You slide off the seat, using the broken wheel as cover. Your hands shake, but you keep them low, ready to run or fight or pray. Another shot rings out. You cannot tell if it hits anything or anyone. The merchant is sobbing, the doctor muttering prayers, the widow staring at her hands as if reading a fortune. You wait. You wait until the silence grows thick, until the only sound is the horse's panicked breathing and the faint groan of wood settling in the ditch. Slowly, you peek around the wheel. The bandits are gone, or hiding, or waiting for something more entertaining than an empty stagecoach and four half-dead travelers. You have no choice but to move. You check the lead horse, the wound bleeding but not fatal. You use the last of your bandages, a strip of your own shirt, to staunch the blood. You curse the bandits, the company, the whole miserable West, then force the horses forward, dragging the coach from the ditch with more luck than strength. The ride is slower now, each jolt punctuated by the horse's limping gait. The widow helps by saying nothing. The merchant helps by staying inside. The doctor complains until you threaten to throw him out. Ebb or Jeb reloads his shotgun, scanning the hills. You do not know what you would do if the bandits returned. You hope they will not. The day crawls on. Hunger gnaws at you. You chew on hardtack so old it splinters like glass in your mouth. You wash it down with water that tastes of honte and regret. You have not had a real meal in 3 days, and your stomach aches with a slow, constant pain. Late in the afternoon, you come across the remnants of another stagecoach, half buried in a ravine. The wheels are gone, the harness cut. A pile of ash marks where the cargo was burned. No sign of the driver. You do not stop. You do not even look. The others see it, though. The merchant mutters about insurance. The doctor goes pale. The widow closes her eyes. Night falls without warning. The horses stumble, exhausted. The road becomes a ribbon of darkness, lit only by the pale moon and the spark of fireflies. You stop in a clearing, too tired to go on. You do not bother with a fire, it would only draw attention. You check the wounded horse, clean the wound as best you can. Majesty, always the most stubborn, breathes heavy, but stands. You promise her rest, knowing it is a lie, You feed the horses, sharing the last of the oats. You eat nothing. You try to sleep, but every sound makes you startle. Every twig snap is a gunshot. Every shadow is a thief. You wake in the deepest hours, certain you heard footsteps. Ebb or Jeb is awake, shotgun across his knees. You nod to each other, saying nothing. You both know that out here, luck is a rumor, safety a joke. Dawn comes gray and cold. You harness the horses, patch the coach with a length of rope and a prayer. The merchant is silent, the doctor limp, the widow asleep sitting up. Ebb or Jeb's eyes are red, rimmed with fear or exhaustion. When you reach the next relay station, there is no welcome, only the indifferent faces of men who have seen too much. You drag the doctor from the coach. He is feverish, shaking. The merchant curses you for the rough ride. The widow looks at the sky, lips moving in silent thanks or curses. Your pay for this leg is half what you were promised. The station master shrugs, says the company is making adjustments. You want to argue, but you have neither the words nor the strength. Instead, you accept the coins and limp away, nursing your bruises, your hunger, your anger. You think about quitting. You think about running away to the mountains, or to the sea, or anywhere that is not this endless, grinding road. But the horses need you. The stagecoach needs you, and there is nowhere else to go. Tomorrow, you will hitch up, climb on, and do it again. Because out here, a bullet in the back is not the end. It is just another day. You know that driving a stagecoach is less a profession and more a series of wagers against fate. Every mile west is a new gamble, every sunrise another spin of a loaded cylinder. It is not the road that worries you. Roads can be mended, ruts filled, bridges rebuilt. What haunts you is everything waiting just beyond the horizon, the dust, the silence, and the men with guns who think your coach is a moving bank, and you, its most replaceable part. The morning is quiet, too quiet, you think, as you hitch up the horses. Majesty coughs, spattering the ground with something red. You ignore it. The merchant talks about the weather. The widow prays under her breath, hands trembling. The so-called doctor sits in the coach, shivering, wrapped in 3 coats he stole from former passengers who had no further use for them. You ride with Ebb, unless today he is Jeb, his shotgun balanced across his knees, eyes narrowed to slits. Neither of you speaks. Your voices are wasted here, where only echo answers and the world rolls on, indifferent. The first hours are uneventful. The sun glares. The dust rises. The wheels creak like bones with secrets. The passengers squabble about nothing. Who gets the window? Who stole the last of the stale bread? Who will survive the longest? You do not participate. You scan the horizon, where every shadow could be a man or a mirage. At midday, the coach rounds a bend cut through scrub and red rock, entering a narrow pass known to you only as the Gulch. Every driver knows this place by a different name: the cut, the graveyard, the place where nobody watches the sky. You slow the horses. The merchant notices your caution and asks if something is wrong. You grunt. Something is always wrong out here. It happens quickly. A shout from the rocks, and then the world is gunfire. Three men, faces hidden behind scarves and sunburn, leap from cover, pistols raised. Ebb, yes, it is Ebb today, raises his shotgun and fires, the sound splitting the air like a prayer. One of the attackers falls, rolling down the hill, but the others fire back. Bullets slam into the side of the coach. The horses rear, eyes wild, foam flying. You feel a sting across your shoulder, a glancing shot, more insult than injury. You keep your head down, hands clutching the reins, praying the leather holds. Inside the coach, chaos reigns. The merchant shrieks, ducking beneath a seat. The widow clings to her Bible, eyes shut, whispering verses. The doctor tries to climb out the opposite window, trips, and lands on his face. Luggage bursts open, scattering a cloud of clothing, and inexplicably, three dead chickens. Ebb fires again. Another bandit falls. The last one, desperate, rushes forward, grabbing at the horse's harness. You stand, drawing the revolver you keep for days like this, and fire into the dirt near his boots. He runs, cursing, and disappears over the ridge. It is over in less than a minute. It always is. The dust settles. The only sound is the ragged breathing of terrified animals and the merchant sobbing into a bundle of petticoats. The widow has not moved. Ebb sits back, face expressionless, reloading his gun. You dismount. One of the horses, Glory, lies bleeding, shot through the chest. You kneel beside her, hand on her neck, and whisper an apology. With the knife you keep for such moments, you end her pain. The job demands it, and the world expects it. You do not flinch, you cannot afford to. There is no spare horse. You cut Glory from the traces, leave her for the buzzards, and rearrange the harness so the others can pull the load. The coach will be slower now, heavier. You wonder if you will make it to the next station before nightfall. The merchant demands to know if you are turning back. You do not answer. The doctor asks if you can wait, as he feels faint. You suggest he get out and walk. He does not. You ride on. The road is steeper, rockier, meaner now, or maybe you are just more aware of every bump. The widow finally opens her eyes, stares at you as if you are a ghost. You do not blame her. You have seen your reflection in muddy water. You look worse than any specter. A mile later, the right wheel shudders, then snaps. The coach lurches, throwing the merchant onto the floor. The widow says nothing, only clutches her Bible tighter. You climb down, cursing, and examine the brake. You can fix it, maybe. You fetch the toolbox from beneath the seat. The handle is sticky with something that might be blood, might be molasses. You do not care. You work with numb fingers, sweat running into your eyes, the sun painting everything with a harsh, unforgiving glare. Ebb stands guard, shotgun at the ready. The doctor attempts to help, then vomits in the grass and sits down. The merchant paces, muttering about insurance. The widow prays. You patch the wheel as best you can, using a spare spoke and some hope. It holds. For now. The sun is sinking when you finally roll into the next way station, a splintered shack half swallowed by tumbleweeds. You are late. No one cares. The station master, a toothless old man with a voice like gravel, charges double for oats and refuses to look you in the eye. You pay anyway. The merchant argues, is ignored. The doctor collapses onto a bench and announces he is dying. No one disagrees. Inside, you find a corner and sit, knees pulled to your chest, arms folded. Ebb cleans his gun in silence. You glance at the passengers. None of them will sleep tonight, you think. Nor will you. At dawn, you line up the remaining horses, hitch them with hands that shake more from fatigue than fear. You are paid half your fee. The station master promises the rest when you reach Elko. You know you will never see it. As you roll out, the merchant asks why you do this. Why keep driving? Why keep risking your life? You look at the horizon, endless and empty, and shrug. It is the only answer you have ever found. And so, with two fewer horses, a patched wheel, and less hope than ever, you drive on. You drive for hours through a world that never wanted you. The miles drag behind the coach, stretching into a line of dust and regret so long you cannot remember where you began or why you ever left. The road is less a path now and more a suggestion, winding between hills of pale stone, the skeletons of dead trees, and the scattered bones of animals who ran out of luck. The wheels groan. The horses stumble. Your hands, numb and swollen, refuse to unclench from the reins. The sky has turned the color of old dishwater, the clouds heavy with threats they never carry out. Every breath you take tastes of sand and horse sweat. The air is so dry that your tongue cracks when you speak, so you speak less, which means your passengers complain more. There are three left now: the merchant, who mutters numbers under his breath; the widow, whose eyes look hollowed by something deeper than grief; and the so-called doctor, whose hands shake more each day, but who never stops reaching for the flask hidden in his coat. The silence between you is almost alive. When someone coughs, everyone listens, and everyone pretends not to. As you crest another miserable hill, you see your destination, a town that barely deserves the name. Three buildings stand on either side of the rutted main street: a saloon with broken shutters, a store with no sign, and a house that might once have been white, but is now the color of bones left too long in the sun. Above them all hangs a sign on one nail, swinging in the wind. It says, "Hope's End." The irony is wasted on you. You guide the horses down the hill, the stagecoach rattling so hard you think it might shake apart. A dog appears, sniffs the wheels, and disappears. No one else greets you. No one is ever waiting. You stop the coach in front of the store. The merchant jumps out first, clutching his battered suitcase. He stares at the empty windows as if expecting someone to shoot at him. The widow descends slowly, clutching her Bible and the edge of her shawl. The doctor falls out last, landing on his knees and swearing. You let them sort themselves. Your back aches as you unload the baggage. One crate labeled delicate. One bag of flour with a hole already chewed in it. A sack of mail, and, incongruously, a small coffin. You set the coffin gently in the dust. No one claims it. The storekeeper emerges, pale and stooped. He looks you over as though you might be contagious, then inspects each item with the care of a starving man counting beans. He pays you with coins so worn the faces are gone. You do not protest. Money is money, even when it remembers nothing. You deliver the mail to the saloon, where the bartender, an old woman with hands like gnarled roots, reads the names aloud. Most letters go unclaimed. Dead, she says, tossing envelopes into the stove. Gone east, shot last winter, buried out back. Only the widow receives anything, a yellowed envelope sealed in black. She does not open it. She does not cry. You accept a drink from the bartender, a glass of whiskey so bitter you cough. She grins, showing 3 teeth, and tells you it is on the house, because you brought the only news anyone ever gets here. Bad news, old news, news that never mattered. Night falls quickly. The street empties. Lamps flicker in 2 windows. The wind picks up, whistling between boards, rattling the bones of the town. You eat a meal in the saloon, bread so hard it bruises your gums, a stew that tastes of rust and onions. The merchant tries to strike a bargain with the storekeeper. The doctor asks if there is a local hospital. The bartender laughs until she wheezes. There are no hospitals here, only graves, no law, only memory, no hope, only the name on the sign. You sleep in a room above the saloon, the mattress as thin as your patience, the sheets alive with fleas. Somewhere in the night, a rat crawls across your face. You slap it away, too tired to care. You dream of the road behind you, a line of broken wheels, empty bottles, and lost souls. In the dream, the horses run without you, free and wild, while you sit in the dust, counting coins with no faces and reading letters that no one will ever open. At dawn, you wake to shouting. The merchant is gone, so is the doctor. The widow sits on the porch, eyes closed, rocking back and forth, the black sealed letter still unopened in her hands. You find the merchant outside the store, arguing with the storekeeper over the price of boots. The doctor is gone completely. You ask the bartender if she saw him leave. She shrugs. Men come, men go. Some walk, some get carried. You hitch the horses, wondering if they will make it another day. Majesty's limp is worse. Glory is gone, but you talk to her anyway, out of habit. You take on a new passenger, a boy no older than 12, sent by his mother to live with an uncle 2 towns over. He carries nothing but a bundle of clothes and a wooden toy. His eyes are too old for his face. You wait for the widow, but she shakes her head. I'm staying, she says, voice barely more than a whisper. Someone has to remember the names. You nod, tip your hat, and climb onto the box. The sun is already high, the sky empty, but for one drifting vulture. You click your tongue, snap the reins, and roll out of Hope's End, leaving behind one less passenger and nothing worth remembering. The road ahead is longer than you remember. The town shrinks behind you until it is nothing at all, a memory, a warning, a ghost. And the stagecoach rolls on, creaking, groaning, swallowing up miles and names and days, as if it always has and always will. You leave Hope's End with a new passenger who does not speak, who barely even looks up from his shoes. He is a boy, perhaps 12 years old, with a sunburned neck and a bundle of clothing tied in a blanket. His name is unimportant. He barely offers it, and you barely catch it. You tell yourself you will remember, but you will not. Names fade out here. They are the first thing to disappear long before shoes, teeth, or hope. The horses, such as they are, pull the coach down the same rutted track you have always followed. Majesty stumbles with every step, and speed breathes like a bellows with holes in it. You listen to the rhythm of hooves and wheels, the unending crunch and moan, and feel yourself settling into that strange dead place inside, the one that lets you survive each day without noticing too much. The boy does not complain. He sits quietly in the cabin with his toy, turning it over and over in his small hands. Every now and then, you glance back through the cracked glass window. He is always staring at the floor, eyes glazed. The new is gone from his face already. The West does that to people, strips them of surprise, leaves them with patience and an unending ache behind the eyes. The day grows hotter. The sun climbs the sky with the deliberate, merciless patience of someone coming to collect a debt. You drive with your hat pulled low, mouth dry, tongue heavy in your jaw. The only sound for hours is the swish of the horses' tails, the creak of the harness, and the ever present whisper of dust. The world is brown, gray, and yellow. The road stretches in front of you, always the same, never ending. At a crossroads, you stop for water, if it can be called that. The stream is a trickle of brown beneath the roots of a dying cottonwood. You fill your canteen, watching the mud swirl, and let the horses drink. Majesty's head droops, and for a moment you think she might not get up again. The boy asks if you are almost there. You answer, almost, because that is what everyone says out here. Almost, nearly, just a little further, no one ever arrives. As you load the stagecoach, you hear a sound behind you. Not bandits this time, but a pair of strangers on mules, faces hidden under wide hats. They nod at you, spit into the dirt, and move on. You do not exchange words. Out here, greetings are as rare as rain. The next town is a smudge on the horizon, marked by 3 posts and a church with a broken bell. You roll through slowly. No one waves. A woman sweeps a porch and never looks up. A dog barks once and then goes silent. You stop only to deliver a sack of mail, and the postmaster takes it with a nod. There is no payment. He tells you the town is short on coins until harvest. You do not argue. It is not worth it. That night, you sleep under the stars, wrapped in a thin blanket. You offer the boy the cabin, but he refuses, curling up on the seat beside his bundle. Coyotes yip in the distance, and the horses shift uneasily. You stare at the sky, trying to pick out constellations you once knew, but the dust blurs everything. The cold creeps in through the blanket, settling into your bones. You dream of home. Not the real one, but one you invent. A place with clean water, thick bread, a chair by the fire. In the dream, someone waits for you, someone you cannot name. When you wake, the ache in your chest is sharper than usual, and your hands are so stiff you cannot close them at first. The road is rougher the next day. Speed stumbles, and you stop to check her hooves. You find a stone wedged deep, blood crusted around it. You pull it free, pat her neck, and whisper a promise you know you cannot keep. The boy helps with the harness, tying knots with clumsy fingers. You think of teaching him how to repair a wheel, but something holds you back. Maybe it is mercy. Maybe it is laziness. Maybe you just do not want to watch hope fade from another pair of eyes. The stagecoach rattles on. Each mile is harder. Majesty lags, and you fear she will go down before sundown. The road climbs into the hills, and the air thins. You feel your heart beat against your ribs, a slow, heavy thump. The boy asks if you have ever been afraid. You tell him, not for a long time. It is almost true. In the afternoon, clouds gather overhead. You hope for rain, even as you dread the mud. But the clouds pass by, trailing only a promise. The land is thirsty, and so are you. Late in the day, you hear a cracking sound, a sharp, splitting noise that sends the horses into panic. The brake has snapped. You pull back on the reins, shouting, but the stagecoach lurches forward, wheels spinning over loose stones. Majesty stumbles and goes down, pulling the others with her. The world tips, then shatters. For a moment, you are weightless, flying through dust and time, the sun a smudge in the sky. The crash is slow and endless, a tumble of wood and iron and flailing limbs. Then silence. When you open your eyes, you are lying in the dirt. The stagecoach is on its side, one wheel spinning. The boy sits nearby, stunned but unhurt, clutching his toy. Majesty does not move. The others whinny and jerk at their harnesses. You drag yourself upright, every bone protesting. You know you should check the boy, the horses, the damage, but you sit for a long time, staring at your hands, at the dust caked beneath your nails. The road stretches away behind you, empty, unkind. You bury majesty beside the road with a broken shovel. The boy helps, silent, eyes fixed on the ground. When it is done, you sit beside the grave until the sun touches the horizon. There are no words to say. You fix the stagecoach as best you can. The boy and you drag the broken wheel back onto its axle, tie up the harness, coax the horses to stand. You leave behind the mail, the baggage, anything you do not need. You keep only what you can carry: water, bread, the boy's bundle, your battered hat. As dusk falls, you start walking. The stagecoach is too damaged to ride. The boy limps beside you, holding your sleeve. The horses follow, heads low. You do not know where the next town is. You do not care. The road goes on, and so do you. In the end, you will die out here. Perhaps tomorrow, perhaps next year. Someone will take your place. There is always another driver, another coach, another road full of dust and disappointment. The West swallows everything: names, faces, bones. Only the road remains, and those who ride it for as long as they can. And somewhere far behind you, the sun goes down on another day wasted. The sky turns the color of old iron. The boy asks what comes next. You tell him the truth. The road goes on, and there is always more dying to do. Someone will find the broken coach someday, pick over the scraps, say, "It was a good day for traveling." They will not remember your name. They will not mark your grave. The dust will settle, the road will stretch, and everything will return to the same old circle.